DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Probably not the best for us to go live with because we are now live. That's right. It's time for Tuesday night with Brian and Jay tonight. Good evening, gentlemen.
What's going on?
Hi.
Tonight we're going to dig into a topic that people have been kind of back and forth a little bit. I've been hearing people talk about this. Is we're doing events. We haven't done events for a long time. You know, we've had a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever it may be. We're out there, we're doing something, and you have that brain fart where it's like, okay, what do I play right at this moment? Or you've got a situation that arises where all of a sudden you just have this feeling that I need a song that's going to be a killer song. And tonight I really wanted to basically talk about songs. And you guys in the chat room, throw these into the chat because we'll be following along. But the idea of songs that are basically in a folder to save your butt. If you get to that point where it's like, oh my God, I need a banger and I need it right now.
Kind of like the smart bomb on a video game. You just want to clear everything out. It's like, oh no, what do I do? You hit that and okay, everything's okay again. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
But with the exact opposite effect where they all come out.
Well, right. It solves the problem, whatever it happens.
Yeah, we were looking for the problem.
The reset.
Exactly.
Completely understand.
So I will start because I've made this folder, and my folder is called Sports. And it works everywhere.
I want a new drug. Yeah,
this will work.
Now.
Yeah, this will work. I mean, look at this.
Look at the energy in the room, Brian. If this is it, that's what's going to get them going to the next level.
Yeah,
exactly. It's going to take the party.
Bad as bad, perhaps.
We're taking a party from an 8. We're going to take it up to a 10. Let's go. Yeah, okay.
No, you're not. That's the best part.
Oh, no, not so much.
Tell us about your sports folder, John.
Yeah.
What's in your sports folder? So
my sports folder starts with. I'm trying to think of when. I can't remember the order of the songs anymore. That's so bad. It's so sad. No, I do have kind of a bangers folder, and I was actually looking at it Saturday night at the wedding that I was working, and I'm looking at it, and it's all the cliche 2-point songs, the Staying Alive, and the Dancing Queen's in there, and you've got all these different ones that were just the ones that people were like, oh, I don't want to play the same songs that are played at everybody's wedding. That's really what that folder was full of. The Brown Eyed Girl, Cecilia, and at one time. That had many more 50s, 60s typed, the more that 55 through, or 1956 through about 1961. It had a half a dozen songs, which it doesn't anymore.
Well, you're on the right track. I mean, I think those are the types of songs that you can throw out there at most events and get the result you're looking for.
Exactly.
Oddly enough, those actually do work well.
Yeah. I
think the area that's kind of cool is when a person can find, and we've talked about this in the past where you've talked with Hall & Oates and throwing in
my dreams come true for the hipsters.
Exactly, where you're doing a couple of different songs, and they can have an effect to connect. I actually decided to play Rich Girl Saturday night just to see what kind of a response I was going to get. I was towards the latter part of the dinner during the dance, and it was interesting. I actually had a couple of people come out and they were dancing on the edge of the dance floor to the song, and it's like,
yeah, it's a hot tune. It really is. And like I had mentioned in a previous show, I think it takes You Make My Dreams Come True. It just steps it up if you play them back to back, because you've already got the hipsters out for that. But then when you play Rich Girl, they stick around for a second, and the parents come out and they're like, why are they coming out here? And it's a fuller dance floor. It's kind of a neat phenomenon that I've discovered at the weddings that I'm doing. So it works well. But yeah, there are a lot of tunes that you can use as those, oh no, what do I do now songs? Or if you just don't know what to do, you can throw them on. I've got a couple in the back of my mind that I'll share tonight on the show.
Excellent. So Jay, we could go through the whole rendition of Lola's theme and talk about that, but let's try to expand the horizons, because I didn't stay with Huey Lewis. I added a couple of others too.
Ah, okay.
So I'm diversifying. I feel good about my diversification. So
Right. Well, I think it's important to always be prepared. We've talked about it here. One of the things I started doing a couple of years ago that Christian Pulse got me onto was, how'd the event go? Really good. Did you save the crate? What? Did you make a crate of the history of the event?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, why? Oh, if I have a really good wedding or a good corporate party, I always save a crate of, let's say, just the dance songs.
Sure.
And I put it as a sub crate of that event, but I name it something like, I have a crate called Cool EDM Wedding, 30 plus wedding, older wedding. I have a Latin corporate crate. I have all these different crates that I kind of rely on when those moments come up.
Mm-hmm.
Where I find they come up the most, because even though you're bringing 40, 50, 60, 100,000 songs, there's a flow to the night. And where I always start to flip out a little is if I do, and it's happened a couple times, I'm playing like Billie Jean and no one comes out. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's a little too old. Let me try Cake by the Ocean. Nothing. You know what? Blurred Lines. Maybe I'm going too far forward. Nothing. I'll do, and literally, like, it's a dead dance floor, and I'm on Journey, Don't Stop Believing. Those are the nights where the Save My Butt songs are the ones I didn't plan on, that are usually half the BPM and older. And I tend to go to the 90s now. It used to be 80s, but now it's that early mid 90s Snoop Dogg kind of hip hop stuff, because my mind is saying, whatever you're doing that isn't working, try going 180 away from it. And I have a crate that I made a while back called Wedding Dance, but it starts with, I think the first one is In the Mood, Glenn Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes up from there, and it's, goes all the way up to like 130 BPM. But it's the one that I try not to go to as much, because I don't want to have that I have a wedding on Halloween, and the bride and groom were at a wedding I did 2 weeks ago and didn't introduce themselves to the end of the night and said, hey, we want to introduce ourselves. You're our DJ. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, you're doing our wedding on Halloween. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're here at the same venue. Oh yeah, half the people are going to be there. Well, that sounds great because it was a fun wedding. But I also now have to look at that crate and say, I don't want to replicate the same order.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got to, I think Save Your Butt songs tend to be songs that are particular to the audience, meaning if the bride and groom are into something, if you can get them motivated, a lot of times that helps to bring people out. But I agree with Brian. Sometimes going, looking at the crowd, doing the famous reading the crowd, and then finding something that might fit an age group or, more of a genre for that night might be the way to go. I get defiant, and I shouldn't. And I get very like, you're not dancing to Billie Jean? Like, you're kidding, right? Like, everyone on the planet dances to this but you guys? And I won't say that on the mic, but God knows I want to. Or, what? I'm sorry, Journey, Don't Stop Believing? Like, no one knows this here? So that's when instead of doing the Sweat and Panic, which I would have done 10 years ago, now I'm kind of like, okay, I get it. Let's try hip hop. We haven't gone there yet.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to say one quick thing, completely off topic.
Sure.
But on topic a little. We didn't even get to talk about it at the top of the show because we came into the green
Well,
room.
you're going to mention what I think you're going to mention. I think we're saving that until later.
Oh, we are? Okay.
I think so.
Then I'll wait on that.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's going to be a toast. So
It's going to happen.
Wait on that. Good.
So yeah, we got to stay in this lane for a little while. And
Yep.
then we'll merge.
I've had problems with the steering box.
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
know.
I got a couple in the back of the truck from the Mustang. It's a quick steer.
That
4 turns and done. We got you.
Jay's had
Yeah.
problems with the steering box. That Brian, I mean, this is news to me. I've not experienced this in our shows we've been doing with him for so many months.
No, he always
Down
just-
the line.
Right
he's
down the line.
laser
Very Jerry
perfect.
Rafferty. Very Jerry Rafferty. Right down the line. And like Toto, sometimes I hold the line.
Ooh,
Yeah.
see how you tied that in there? I get that.
You can't walk the line though. You can
No.
definitely not.
So-
You're gonna go to jail that night.
No.
So one of
It
the
ain't gonna
songs that
happen.
it was interesting, the age group of the wedding I had this past weekend, the couple were in their late 20s. We had a really from probably 40 to 60 was where I had the bulk of the crowd. Of the 140 people there, probably 100 of them were in that range. One of the songs that was that was played that was probably the most popular song was Blue Skies, Mr. Blue Skies.
Oh, ELO, Mr.
ELO,
Blue Sky.
because you had that, as we've talked about this time and time again,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So the young kids knew it. They were the first ones on the floor. And then as the old, and we had, and they were spacing out around the floor, but there was like 35, 40 people and there were people that are on the sides, kind of the groomsmen are over on the sides singing along, off the dance floor. But it was the engagement of that. And it's one of those things that, okay, so we've got our folder of songs, and then there's these weird things that come out, and I don't want to, weird coming out of nowhere, but I mean, that's not a dance song. Not really a dancey type tune.
4/4 time, you can dance to anything, technically, but yeah.
Well, there is that, I suppose. I mean,
yeah.
When a washing machine is washing.
Dance, it opens, the spectrum gets much wider. Like, I can't dance. So for me to bop my head to a song, to me becomes almost like I'm dancing. I may not run to the floor, but like we've said before, I've been hired from weddings, but had people come up and said, "Do you have a card?" And then hire me and be like, meet them, say, "Wow, so you guys enjoyed yourselves?" Yeah, we didn't dance once. Really,
we like what you're playing,
but we loved the music you were playing. It wasn't too loud. Like, the mixes were really tight. We kept bopping our head, going, "This is such a good song. Like, this is a fun party," and that's what they wanted. And so I think we get caught up on the dance. I know I do. I get caught up on mixing.
I think a lot of people do. Yeah.
And caught up on the dance floor too much. That becomes, as much as I say it's not really the goal. Underneath it is the goal. You want that huge dance floor.
Ideally.
You want perfect mixes, but
it's a visual cue for us that things are going well, but there is other ways for things to go well that we can't particularly are so obvious to our naked eye. But I get it. You know what I was thinking about is going back probably, I don't know, let's say conservatively 5 or 6 years ago. I had this pattern that I fell into where I would do, all the father, daughter, mother, son stuff. Then I would do like a slow dance for everybody. And then I would get into something like that everybody kind of knew. And within like 3 songs, I was in a line dance. And then I started doing that thing because it did bring people out.
Sure.
And that's kind of what we're talking about. It's the smart bomb. And I'm speaking, general audience here. I'm not talking about the too cool for school crowds. I'm talking about most of your goofy, silly mixed wedding receptions. I stopped doing it because, it's more fun when you fly by the seat of your pants, I think, and you're just kind of playing to the audience that's in front of you and riding that wave. And what I've noticed is I haven't been playing the line dance songs until like 11 o'clock sometimes. And then it's like maybe somebody asked for it, or maybe I've been the really cool, sunglasses on DJ all night. And then all of a sudden I throw on the Macarena. It came out of left field. It's like, why is this cool ass DJ playing Macarena? And they love it. It's like ironic at that point. So even those songs, if you could hang on to them, it's almost too easy. Just put something like that on. Of course, Cha-Cha Slide, Electric Boogie, Cupid Shuffle, that stupid stuff.
Wobble. I mean, that stuff still gets traction out here. They still want wobble. They don't want line dances because they think Macarena, but they want wobble, Cupid Shuffle, and Cha-Cha.
The Macarena is kind of a new thing. It went away for a long time.
It still hasn't come out here, but sure
it went away. It's been gone. We forgot about it. I've been bringing it back as a flashback song. I think John has as well. And they're like, "Oh yeah, this one." It's just funny to them. It feels like putting on the Twist by Chubby Checker. It's like, why are you playing this? But it's fun, and we know it.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think I told you. I don't think I said anything to John. My last wedding, they were a theatrical group. And so was the wedding I'm doing on the 31st. They're into the Renaissance. They all used to work or do work at one of those medieval campus, So I'm like, oh, this is great. I've got that group dialed in. I can totally go down that road. Well, they'd wanted one of the last songs of the night to be "Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. And the more we looked at the crowd and the more I talked to them, I said, I know I said I was going to do "Don't Stop Me" and then a slow song. I actually want to try something I've never done before. because I'm notorious for ending on a slow song because they have to leave. And I flipped it and I ended on Don't Stop Me Now. And it was amazing. Like the energy was great. The crowd was jumping up and down. Everyone was super into it. But when it was over, they were into being over. They weren't into like, okay, now keep going. Like, no, they got what I was doing and they got what was going on and they knew the night was over. But even moments like that where, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm starting to lose people. How do I keep them? Or, you know, they're starting to filter and speak to each other. I think like you're trying to do, I think it's time, you know, especially during COVID and things changing, maybe for us to change a little bit.
John, I wonder where he got those ideas. Who would put an idea like that in Jay's head?
Jay is such a studious student of life.
How I'm able to make a drink without calling Brian first. So it's how much that's, and one of the reasons would be liquor and juice instead of liquor.
Right.
Juice. Yeah. So
you know what I'm thinking about though? I'm thinking about really those songs that no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, you put them on, it's going to save the day. Because there are a few of those songs.
Let's each do quick 5 songs that you think are guaranteed bangers at any wedding, any event, any time of year.
Most any wedding, most any event. There's always going to be exceptions. But yeah, let's go for it. We'll do 5. Let's do 5.
Okay. You want to go first?
No, let John go first.
You're saying, give me a second. You got to.
Because I don't want to step on John's selections. I'll go last because I'm cool like that.
Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Great.
All right.
I'll stump the hell out of you guys.
Well, the first one.
You guys throw the obvious stuff out and I'll give you some neat ones.
Yeah. John, hint is don't name anything by Prince.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do any.
Go ahead. I wasn't going to use them anyway.
So.
Oh.
I don't play Prince weddings.
So the Bruno Mars, there's of course Uptown Funk, which would have been that song, but for some reason 24K has been a stronger song at the earlier in the year, and then this past weekend it was much stronger. So I'm almost thinking that one is going to be in that set or in that folder. Flow Ride is low is certainly the kind of staying in the newer stuff. Shut Up and Dance would be another one. I want to go back into a slow one that goes really, really well. I don't think I've ever had a situation where Alan Jackson's Remember When did not fill the dance floor with folks.
That's 4 or 5, Jay.
That's 4. And can I just put Huey Lewis?
As long as you fill the floor with it.
Yeah, every time. I mean, you
doesn't matter what, just anything Huey Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Heart of Rock and Roll, and the crowd, they start hearing that dun, 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 and all of a sudden they're like they're just like puppies at the door, you know, wanting to. Can we dance? Come on, are we ready? So yeah.
I remember Power of Love being a huge one, like at school dances when they put that on.
That was a big track.
That was.
Yeah. That was a hot song back in the mid 80s. It was really hot.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you on 24 Karat. Uptown Funk has lost a little bit of its shine, but I think it's still a workable one. I think probably one that I will play at almost every single event without fail is Usher, Yeah. Mm-hmm. That song just seems to kill. I would have said Happy by Pharrell if this show was a year ago. But this year I'm noticing, I think because of COVID, Happy is just a track I'm just not playing it because I don't think it's getting people the way it used to get them. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, Taylor Swift, Shake It Off. I've played at each of the weddings this year, and there's been a little country, so that song has done really well. Billie Jean still goes. Cake by the Ocean still goes. And then on the faster side of it, I mean, I'd have to go with line dance wise, Cupid Shuffle. I mean, like I've never really missed with that song. Mm-hmm. So that'd be my 5.
Yeah, it still is very, very, very strong.
Yeah.
I think if I really, really, really look back, I've never failed with Everybody by the Backstreet Boys. Mm-hmm.
That's the new crowd too.
Never failed. It is. It is. It's the kids getting married now.
Yeah, it's killing.
In their group. And people my age like it too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that was.
We followed that up with "Wannabe" by the Spice Girls.
That's exactly
what
I did.
At your wedding?
And what?
Is Deb going to be at the wedding?
She was welcome to come. So then
I mean, that's her song.
You can, and these all just can't fail for me. You could follow up "Wanna Be" by the Spice Girls. Well, you could follow it up with this, or you could just play it as a standalone song with Miley Cyrus, "Party in the USA." Yeah. This is a big tune still.
That's getting traction now out here too.
It's even, you know what was surprising to me, and this goes back to probably maybe a couple of years after it came out when it became that novelty song. I kind of thought it was going to be, I don't know, maybe a bit like a girls just want to have fun kind of thing, where the girls really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, the guys really like "Party in the USA" too. So you get that whole millennial Gen Z group out there, and even people my age dig it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an 11-year-old song, but they still really like it. So that one's good. So I'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just going to throw something out there, sometimes I'll do that hip hop thing. So, and a lot of people tell me this is not the tune to play at a wedding, but they love it. And I've got an edited version. "Be Faithful," Crooklyn Clan. That song is like, you press that button no matter what's going on. The dance floor is full. Just
yeah. For me, if I have the right crowd, that song kills.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, even
the other one that you can do, and this is for anybody. It doesn't matter what their age is. And you would think it would be for a certain age group, but I think everybody kind of digs it because it's been a sports anthem and all kinds of stuff. "House of Pain," "Jump Around."
Mm-hmm.
That one is a really good one. If you're like, what do I do? And I've even got on the microphone before. Things are kind of getting a little, and I said, "Look, I hope you guys don't mind. I want to play some Irish folk music for you." Oh, Jesus, what's he going to do? And then I throw that on, and they just go, "Oh my God," and it just brings it up even more.
Yeah.
For a slow song, the one I really like doing, I've never had anybody object to it. Sometimes when you do something like "What a Wonderful World," some people may think that's a little too old school.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you do like a newer slow song, it's like you don't really grab the older people. Shania Twain's "You're Still the One" is my go-to slow song for a mixed crowd.
Mm-hmm.
It's top 40, it's country, it's not too old, it's not too new. It's a nice little tune to just kind of stick in there for a slow song. And there's a pop version of that and a country version. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The only difference that I can hear is there's a little bit in the B section where I think the country version has a slide guitar and the top 40 version has a little kind of a mellow little guitar solo, like a regular guitar solo. It's no different otherwise. You play either one of them. I usually do the country one, actually. I don't know, that's more than 5, but those are tunes that I don't know, you almost can't screw them up. Like if you're in a situation, they're different than they used to be. Back in the old days, it was Celebration by Kool and the Gang, it was YMCA, Village People, Rick James, Super Freak. It's not those won't work. It's just that I've found that these are incredibly effective and somehow surprising to the audience. They weren't expecting to hear them, and that's what makes them fun.
I think there's times in the night that you get into those, not sets as much as you just find if this track's working, then, at least with me and I think with you guys as well, if you play Bust a Move by Young MC, that's going to take you to a different track than if you were playing, Blurred Lines.
Yeah.
Even though they're around the same BPM, but there's a different, it's on where the crowd wants you to go. One I didn't mention because I think it's very regional, but I mean, it doesn't take much effort to get a dance floor full where I am if you play Tupac and Dre, California Love.
I do well with a certain audience. I do very well with that, and I usually somehow fashion it around Hypnotize B.I.G. somehow, and it's like that 2/4 seems to do very well.
92 BPM, so it gives you that whole, Nothing But a G thing. What's My Name by Snoop, even Gin and Juice. Then you start climbing and you get up to, and actually I probably should have mentioned this one. What is it? Get Low. Little John Boys.
Little John East Side Boys, sure.
Yeah, that track just crushes. And it gives you a lot of different avenues, and it sort of tells you where the crowd wants to, like, do they want to keep going hip hop? And it's the difference between 24 Karat and Finesse.
it's fun to play songs that they like, but they totally weren't expecting. And if you're in that hip hop vibe,
Yeah.
right in that pocket of late 90s, early 2000s, I love throwing on Party Up DMX. They don't even see it coming.
No,
And that song just has a great intro, and it jumps in. I do the radio edit of it because the longer version just gets a little old. And the other one that they just smack them over the face with, they have no idea, is Old Dirty Bastard, I Got Your Money.
Got my money.
Oh my God.
I love that
They
track.
just like, what? And you look at those guys who thought they were too cool. And it's like, I need an apology now.
Yeah.
Because I'm incredibly cool. Like, you are, dude. I'm gonna leave you alone now.
I play the Funky Mix 45 or 44 version of that I bought at Mobile probably in 2000, 2001, something like that, a million years ago. The one that I think is starting to get traction again that shocked me, because I've had 2 requests in the last 7 events, was Carly Rae Jepsen, Call Me Maybe.
Oh, yeah, that one never went away here.
I see here it kind of went away. Like that one, I started playing Good Time by Owl City and Carly Rae, and it depended how the crowd looked.
Mm-hmm.
But, the beauty of our job is, and I tell people this all the time, I'm going to play 65, 70, 75, 80 songs, but I've got 60,000 and the internet.
Yeah.
So the game is, there's a lot of great choices I could have played, but these are the great choices I made. And if you had a good time, then I was right, and it's not a me right, you're wrong thing. It's just I try. And I think a lot of it is what you put it with. It's where you go.
Yeah. Not only that, but, and I know that, beat mixing is a thing that you really want to make sure you bring to the table at an event. I find that when I change the tempo completely, people take notice and like, what the hell? So I go from one thing and just abruptly jump into something else. And the songs that I've done very well with that would be things like Sexy and I Know It by LMFAO. And the other one is one we've talked about many, many times, but it's totally that great left field song to throw in there when you're in the middle of something. Daft Punk's One More Time.
Yeah.
They just jolts them. They don't even see it coming.
They stand alone they're such standalone tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You would say Backstreet Boys, because and I think if you look at if we had this conversation as you and I have had over the years, you find that there's a point where the 80s stopped being in flavor and it went to the 90s because of the age of our clients, and now it's like it's 2020. So if you've got a 25-year-old bride, she was born in 95. Well, how much of the 90s did she really get? And you think, okay, well, I was born in 64. I'm not a huge fan of the stuff right before me. And I'm not like I love the Beatles, but I'm not like my music really tended to be like 7 or 8 years later from when I was.
Right. Yeah.
So when you start doing that, I played Backstreet's Back a few weddings ago. And just because I thought I could, and I did just what you said about the tempo, I followed it with In Sync, Bye Bye Bye, which is on another tempo. But it just inspired them. Mm-hmm. And I think there are times that you can throw stuff at someone and they get more excited, forgetting beat matching. So I think there is a time and a place where just give it to them and they're going to be thrilled.
DJ Ohm in the comment section is saying, Brian, you need a good mic. Just so you know, I have an incredibly good mic. You can blame Zoom for this.
I was going to say, I'm not hearing any audio glitches or anything.
You sound normal. Right?
Yeah, you sound so.
I have a nice JTS.
That's
here.
The JTS.
Yeah.
This is a badass mic, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It must be Zoom because this mic kind of rocks. So, John always sounds brighter. He's the host.
Yeah, I'm going to have, because I've got a direct connection going right in. And Jay's coming from California, and there's the fires and things, that matters.
And the swingers.
With the smoke coming in from this distance.
Yeah, it's just horrible. So, another song that was somewhat surprising, but then as I thought about it and looked at past requests, Salt and Pepper's Shoop was a song I really didn't do much with when it came out in the early 90s. I mean, it was there, and we did it in the bar once in a while, but it never was the song. And yet that's become, in this particular case, they wanted it, and the bridesmaids, this was their kind of dancing. They were all together and singing along, and the guys were about, so that's been almost one of those kind of, if you've got that crowd that would have had that experience in the 90s. a song that fits in.
Speaking of salt and pepper, one mix that I've done, again, left field, there was no rhyme or reason for it. I just did it. It's usually later in the evening. I do like Run DMC. It's Tricky, which seems to do really well with even, the millennial crowd, the Gen Zs, they like it.
Kills.
And Push It by Salt and Pepper, Jay, mixes in beautifully with that. And you have all kinds of neat opportunities at the end of It's Tricky and the intro of Push It to do 32 bar mixes. Yeah. That sound awesome.
No, they do. And again, it's that genre BPM area. It's Tricky does really, really well. And I've even gone, when the Britney crowd was around, I would change up tempos. Once you're up in that 128 zone, it's hard to climb to 140, but I'll usually go to like will.i.am and Britney, and then halfway through slam in Toxic, because if you have the right crowd, and that's what they want. John Shoops had a couple requests for me this summer. The other one that I brought back, Late Dinner, that has done really well is Waterfalls by TLC.
Okay.
I don't think it really went away, but it was not on my radar anymore.
Sure.
Was it the album version of that where they started? I think it was maybe the album version where they started talking about AIDS a lot and the condom broke or something. I remember something about having that at the club, and the manager said, we listen to this. Don't play the album version of this song. It's a downer. Play something else. I think it was Waterfalls. Off of that album.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, Waterfalls is the story behind it is that type of a story. So it is kind of a downer, but it's
Good Guy Productions in the chat. Just shout out to Eric Wilson. He's mentioning Rob Bass, It Takes Two. And yeah, that's another one of those tunes that you can pretty much throw in anywhere if things aren't looking good, especially towards the end of the night, and you almost can't lose.
But like we said earlier, I think there's that, when I've done Get Low into Usher, depending on the crowd, it might go into Little John, Turn Down for What, into Luke Bryan, or it might go into Back to the Motel, into something else. I use them as finder songs. Like the topic is about songs to get your butt out of trouble.
Right.
I'll play, Paperboy by Diddy.
Diddy, yeah.
That's a finder track, meaning
Diddy by Paperboy, but close enough.
You know what? Out here on this coast, we call it.
On the left coast, it's that.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm in the Midwest. I'm a moderate, so
it's like Scrappa in Australia. The toilets flush differently. Okay.
They don't, but that's okay.
This way versus this way.
It's not true. It's not true.
You sure?
Yeah, I did the test. I have video to prove it.
Oh.
The
next DJ Helping video series.
This was before the internet had like video and stuff too. So yeah.
This would be like you cooking salmon with a cigarette going, check out this toilet.
It was way before that. Yeah. It was years before that. So
but you have those finder songs, which are like, if the crowd really likes this, then that's going to determine some of where to go. And I think if you don't get them on certain hits, try those obscure tracks that are like, the worst thing that happens is I turn this off in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other thing we haven't mentioned, but as hard as this might be to believe, if a track's dying for me, I'll get out. I will not play. Don't ever be afraid to jump out of a sinking ship. Like if your track is killing your dance floor, get out of it. And I think that's why it's semi-important to know the next round of songs a little bit, because if your banger track dies, I did Terror Squad, Lean Back, thinking this is going to kill. It had killed at the wedding the week before. Well, it cleared at this wedding. And I'm like, oh, geez, I didn't plan on it clearing, and had to immediately get out of it and go into something else. So, you got to be somewhat ready on these things.
Yeah.
No toilets here, just long drops. That doesn't.
I saw that, and I thought that is awesome.
That is.
A
Scrappa replied to you with really clever. He said, "No, long drops. The toilets are very deep in Australia. They are incredible.
Oh, they are?
Yes, they are.
Why?
Don't fall in one. Because they're Australian. Because they take big poops. I don't know. Because they are.
All right.
Just because they are.
He just
take your word for it.
He just threw out 3 or 4 different potential conspiracy. I heard that Australians take big. All right, gang, we're going to wrap that part of the show up there. Hopefully there was some great things put into the chat. Gave you a few songs and ideas there. I want to spend the last about 15 minutes or so of our show tonight. As you all know, Eddie Van Halen passed away today, and another gentleman just passed away just a couple of hours ago. Can't think of it. I'm just right at the top of my head.
From where?
He sang a 70s song that we used. Oh, somebody put it in the chat room.
What?
Yeah, there was another gentleman who just passed away here.
Have I got anything on that? I wasn't aware of that.
Neither was I.
Oh, Johnny Nash. Thank you, Greg. Johnny Nash.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Johnny had also passed away. So, but the Eddie Van Halen thing and Van Halen is one I figured we'd spend a little time with that.
Yeah.
This is Van Halen's always is one of those bands that probably Huey Lewis and then right behind would be the Van Halen, because they were so much of an influence, because that's the kind of music that the friend who got me into listening to kind of current pop music. My parents had, that influence of the 70s, and such, the Beatles and what have you during that. And then he was the one that really started to get me into some of that early Van Halen things and get me into more of that. And so we'd go play pool. On that pool table, I ended up buying it from a guy, found it and bought it. But we'd go play pool, cross-country ski across the lake I lived in to his cabin on the other side of the lake, and we'd go and shoot pool and listen to some of the early Van Halen albums. And so it was kind of they've always had that kind of a soft, that special spot in one's heart there. So with that, so yeah, it was something you knew was coming because of Eddie's cancer and not being able to do the things for a period of time that he's wanted to do. But it's just still kind of a sad day with that.
I think it's and being that I remember getting Van Halen 1 and the first time I ever heard Eruption, and I had just gotten into playing guitar maybe a year before, and to fully understand why the impact is so big, you have a very short conversation with guitar players. There's what you refer to as almost the Trinity from the 60s, which was Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Eric Clapton. And there was a lot of amazing, like I could name 100 amazing 60s rock guitar players, but those were the three preeminent, and Hendrix. And Hendrix was his own, star burning too bright, 3-year career, came and went too fast, revolutionized things. But that was it. The 70s came around and you had the influence from the 60s and the 50s. So you had Kiss with Ace Frehley and Ted Nugent and, Rick Derringer. And you had people that were considered to be, very good guitar players, but the virtuoso, amazing kind of Hendrixy guy, there were people close. And then when Eddie Van Halen showed up, he changed the landscape. I bet you 90% of anybody in rock today in a band can trace that back to someone that they were influenced by, being directly influenced by Eddie Van Halen. Yeah. When Eruption came out, nothing was like that. And everyone kind of said, well, studios, you can use a lot of effects. Where he was so brilliant was he came out with album 2, which I believe was already recorded before even album 1 kind of broke. There was some weird thing the way they recorded them. They were very close to being back-to-backs. But on Van Halen 2, he did a track called Spanish Fly, which is a flamenco like Eruption version, but on acoustic with no effects. So it was his kind of like, F you if you think I'm doing some trick.
That's really interesting that you say that. I was looking at some of the responses from other celebrities who, reacting to this. And the one that caught my eye said that he's a musical and technical innovator, which is the perfect way to describe him. And that was from Cat Stevens.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that I have always loved Van Halen is because I've never heard something and asked myself, is that Eddie Van Halen? You just know it is. His sound is so unique. He didn't have the money growing up. His father was a kind of a struggling musician. He didn't have the money growing up to invest in guitar pedals and toys and stuff. So he took what he had and he studied up on it. And he would, okay, you can do the harmonic tuning with the guitar. What if you use those sounds to make music? That'd be pretty weird. Well, when you set a guitar down, it makes this sound. If the strings are open, what if you could somehow harness that sound and do something and make music with it?
Right.
And the finger tapping and the tapping on the back of the neck of the guitar and using the volume control to make it sound like a violin. How do you do that? He did it. And he would swap out the pickups and do all this stuff because he couldn't afford the pedals. This is the spirit of rock and roll. This is the spirit of DJing. I mean, you think about guys, I mean, I don't want to go off, but you think about Grandmaster Flash, kind of the same thing. I mean, there are people who emulate and there are people who innovate, and he innovated.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I heard a quote, and I mentioned it a while back. It was from Miles Davis. Dave Chappelle was actually talking about this. He said, Miles Davis said one time, I was really happy when I learned to play like myself. And that's exactly what he meant. Because when you're learning an instrument, or when you're learning how to DJ, or when you're learning how to sing, or whatever you do, it doesn't matter if you lay concrete, doesn't matter. You pull and hone from everybody else's experience and the skills and the basics, and you do things. And sometimes that's the rest of your life. You're just kind of doing things the way you were taught.
Right.
But other people go beyond that and come into their own, and they innovate and do things no one's ever heard or seen before. That was Eddie Van Halen.
Well, and greatness is one note, and I'll prove it. Carlos Santana did a great guitar player article in the 70s about you can tell a great guitarist by one note. And they said, really? And he goes, yes. And he named like Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page. I think it was late 70s. Van Halen was mentioned. You know, Rick, all these different players. And you stop and realize that as a guitar player, if I took the guitar that's sitting over here and gave it to Eric Johnson or Rick Derringer or Eddie Van Halen, and they played it, it wouldn't sound like that guitar with my amp. It would be them because it's genuinely, it's here. And I think the greatness of finding, as you say, going past the cover.
Basics.
And creating. Here's something I've had to explain to many, many players who will come to me and say, oh, you play? Check it out. I can do Eruption. Yeah, that's cool. Well, can you do all of Eruption? I'm like, yeah, bits and pieces and like do it as a stop. No, I really can't, but you can. Yeah, man, look how good I am. Well, no. You can copy Eruption.
Exactly.
Eddie Van Halen created Eruption.
Yeah, see, that was my question to you, Jay, because you are, I mean, those of you who don't know, Jay is a very good guitar player. He's humble about it, but he's incredibly good.
Thank you.
And you've heard many people play. You've played with many people, different, you know, groups, and even jammed with people. How many times do you think, have you heard somebody do some Van Halen cover thing? Like thousands of times, right?
Yeah.
How many times have you ever thought to yourself, was that really Eddie Van Halen playing that?
No.
Never. Nobody can do it like he did it. Nobody.
You look at Michael Jackson. The solo on Beat It is Eddie Van Halen. And it only took a second the first time we all heard it in 83 to go, I think that's Van Halen.
It's the high note he hits. It's the way he hits it with the harmonic, and it's like,
right. And it's like,
that's
man,
Eddie.
But he cultivated that. And, you know, for you kids out there that are watching, if you want to know the secret of success, it's practice. You got a woodshed for your life. Like, you don't get that. Like, you obviously have a God-given skill and talent, but a lot of people have talent, and everyone knows somebody with a lot of talent that's wasted.
Yep.
A lot of people, people that have a lot of knowledge. It's a great Calvin Coolidge quote about knowledge won't do it. Everyone knows somebody that's really smart and didn't go anywhere. Talent won't do it. There's a lot of wasted talent. It's persistence. It's constant never letting go, never losing sight of the prize, and always working towards it. And I mean, here we are in 2020. After Van Halen broke, there was a guy that played with Ozzy Osbourne named Randy Rhoads.
Yeah, Randy.
He became this amazing god of a guitarist and then died a couple years later.
Yeah, he didn't last long.
Now, I could probably name 20 people you two have never heard of from then till now. But maybe the name Yngwie Malmsteen.
Oh, I know Yngwie.
Okay, that's probably the only big name I can say. Now, there will be people that say, what about Steve Vai? What about Joe Satriani? What about Tobias? What about this one? There are a lot of great players, but they're not mainstream. They're not past their own genre known.
They're technically incredibly good at what they do, but have they really innovated anything like Eddie did?
So Steve Vai, yes. Satriani, yes. Gary Hoey. There's a lot of amazing players, but they all will tell you. Joe Bonamassa, an amazing guitar player, been a prodigy since he was like 9. His Instagram picture of Eddie Van Halen today with him, taken back in 1991, and he said, this is someone that we all look to as a true innovator.
Yeah, and he was
someone we all took from because he created things that we didn't know were possible. And I think that's the real talent.
I was going down that Van Halen rabbit hole probably 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I saw this, I don't know what it was. It was almost like he was at some college or something on a stage, and he was talking to students. And he was being interviewed. And
young girl.
Huh?
By like a young girl, and he's got.
Yeah, she was kind of heavy set, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen that. Amazing.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool. I mean, he's in his 60s at the time. This was probably only a few years ago.
Yeah,
and he's talking about his life and how he came over with his family and how they paid their boat fare to America by being musicians on the boat with his father, and how he started with the drums and Alex started with the guitar, but then Alex got on his drum kit one day, so he took Alex's guitar, and all those stories. And it's interesting, and you're thinking to yourself, yeah, he was a really great guitar player. He was fantastic. This is really interesting to hear the story. Then he picks up a guitar, and he's got an amplifier there, and you're thinking, okay, he's going to play something. He picks that thing up and starts playing. It's like, oh my God, there he is.
Yeah,
there he is.
It's there.
No mistake. No mistake.
No,
that's him. This is not an imposter. This is not the old man, Eddie Van Halen. That's nothing like the young man of Eddie Halen. It's him. He's that good.
He said flat out, Van Halen 1, there are mistakes. There are audible, misnoted mistakes. Michael Schenker on Strangers in the Night, one of the greatest live rock albums of all time, when he was guitarist for UFO, said, there are mistakes on the album. Yeah. We left them there because it was what happened.
It's interesting.
Van Halen said, don't ever lose sight of feeling. I would much rather play and hear feeling with a mistake than perfection that was done in a studio that's cold and icy. Because it's
John, that's probably why old men like us hate new music, because it's too perfect.
There could be. Yeah, certainly could be.
He didn't view anything he did as being perfect because perfection was that elusive brass ring you were never going to get.
And he was always doing something different anyway that nobody else could do. So,
yeah. Two little things, trivia-wise. One, his dad played on, I think it's Diver Down. It's the
Big Bad Bill of Sweet William. No,
that's the one. His dad plays the
clarinet.
Yeah. Yes, that's his dad. But one of the things is, you guys realize, and I don't remember the price tag, but it was several $1 million. The acoustic guitar from Nirvana's MTV Unplugged was just auctioned off. And the owner of Roby Cameras, we talked to Trevor Scrappa one night in the room. He's an Australian. He bought it, and he paid either $3 or $6 million for it at auction. David Gilmour just made, I think, $4 or $5 million selling off his Black Strat and a bunch of his guitar. Eric Clapton has famously sold off guitars. The point of this is, guitars from a celebrity are worth a lot of money. 10 years ago, when Darrell of Pantera was killed.
It was longer than 10 years ago. It was 2004.
Was it that long ago?
Yep.
Jesus, I thought it was 2000.
2004.
Holy shit. Wow. Well, back then, when he was killed on stage in, I believe, Ohio, they had this big funeral for him, and he was a huge Van Halen fan, a huge Kiss fan, and everyone showed up. And Eddie Van Halen showed up with the black and yellow guitar from Van Halen 2, worth easily in today's marketplace $1 million or $2 million to a diehard fan to know that you're buying that one, the second one he made, not the white one that became the red one, Frankenstein. That's like a GC now or Hard Rock or somewhere, or he had it. But the black and yellow one, that was the backup. And he put it in the casket.
Yeah.
And they joked about if Dime had known Eddie Van Halen would show up at his funeral and put that guitar in his casket, he probably would have died 20 years early.
I heard that.
That's the kind of guy he took it upon himself.
I've heard really good things about him. I don't know. Well, that's not true. I know somebody who knew him personally and had nothing but wonderful things to say about him, and is taken today really hard, by the way. Her father was their musical theory teacher in technical college. When they were in school, Eddie and Alex would hang out with the music theory teacher, and his daughter is Brian Dowdle's wife, Callan Dowdle.
Oh, you told me about this.
Yeah.
That's right.
She's got backstage passes and personalized autograph pictures and pictures of her with them. I mean, we're talking back in the probably Diver Down / 1984 days, but it's always her and Eddie.
Wow, cool.
Eddie's always ever present, and he wrote her some of the sweetest little notes. I mean, she was just a little girl at the time, 12, 13 years old.
Yeah.
But they, in fact, I haven't. Well, her father is mentioned in liner notes on Van Halen albums as special thanks.
Wow.
So yeah, he was they were very into theory and that kind of stuff. And I mean, their father was an accomplished musician, but they loved hearing what, Mr. Griffith had to say. And so they spent a lot of time with him, and she's got some pretty cool. If you're Callan's friend on Facebook, or you can probably just see it. She's posted some really neat stuff, personal stuff that she's had today.
Wow. So. I think this is part of and I feel bad for the new generation for a lot of reasons, but one of them is the lack of investment. When you say liner notes, I've probably seen his name because I would have read every album I bought by them, and I would have, fawned over the liner notes to learn and see like who sang backup, who did this, who wrote that, what break was this, what's the verse on this. And it's so sad to me that that's all gone, because that in itself was such a form of passion and such a way of connecting. Yeah, I can go on Twitter right now and tweet, whoever I want. And I can pretend I'm their friend on Instagram and have a conversation and put up a picture of a ticket and they're going to like it. And I guess there's a connection there, but I really think the connection was what you made of it. It was a love affair that was never going to be practiced. And it was something that you could hold deep inside when things got tough and know that you could always count on. Those liner notes weren't going to change if you opened them when you bought the album. 5 years later, 10 years later, there was no change. You were right back where you started. And it's a beautiful thing. And I wish people today could really appreciate what that means. Even my kids were like, yeah, is that a big deal? I'm like, yeah, to me it is. It's somebody that I sat in my room for hours and hours and hours and listened to and got a lot of enjoyment. He brought me a lot of happiness. Whether he did things right or wrong, his life wasn't on the table.
Right.
I didn't look to him to be a teacher of life. I looked to him to share his skill and talent. And
I don't know, John, they're really complaining about my microphone tonight. Go Mongo is asking what model is. JTS1 USB. It's got to be Zoom. This is a good mic. I'm sorry it sounds muffled to you.
Very good.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's nothing. It's a USB microphone, goes right into the computer. I really have no settings that I can adjust on it. It usually just works fine. I'm sorry that it doesn't sound good tonight, but it's a good mic.
Yeah.
So sorry I sound muffled. Sorry.
Well, gentlemen, we need to wrap things up. So,
well, here's to everyone we've lost. May they be in a good place, and may they go on to happiness. And thank you for all the happiness you brought us.
Thank you for having us tonight, John.
Thanks, guys. Thank you guys for being with us this evening. The chill room is open. I should put the link in.
I'll head over there in a minute.
Yeah, let me put that in, DJNTV.com. I got to put the HTTP. The chill room has changed because of Zoom changing things. So now you need a passcode. So if you haven't been there for a while, there's a five-letter passcode, which is DJNTV lowercase. So you'll click on the DJNTV.com/chill, then the passcode, and you are good to go. There we go. Brian's got it right there.
Real quick, are any of the changes, does that include, is there a bar now? Has that been added?
No, but they should be serving, hors d'oeuvres. Have you been getting hors d'oeuvres?
I haven't been in a few days.
Oh, okay.
Well, we were going to put a bathroom, but we figured you just get lost on the way to it like you do in real life and never come back. So we decided not to do
By the way, I real quick, I'm doing the warehouse thing. So I get home, grab a quick shower, go in the closet, grab this, and realize this. I should have worn this a few weeks ago because this is the famous shirt where I interrupted you two guys at the Irish pub. Just a little throwback to DJ Expo.
And it is famous now, yeah.
I did.
Well, we didn't even mention that, but sadly, I won't be seeing either of you in Jersey, will I?
No.
No.
There won't be.
But that's not news. This is just
I only got that 3 days ago or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
We knew that 4 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. There wasn't much chance, but
I'm saying the
You
general
were all
public-
by yourself on that one, Jay.
No. They sent a formal like last Thursday or something.
yeah.
Did you play High Hopes by Frank Sinatra for Jay? Because I think that's kind of where he was on that.
No, do High Hopes by Panic at the Disco. It's my new favorite.
Do that one.
grand entrance.
For a bit.
Grand entrance. High Hopes by Panic at the
All
Disco.
right, everyone. Have a great evening, and we will catch you next week. We're off because of the virtual expo. We'll be back in 2 weeks with our regular shows on Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.
Night.